Hello, everyone. Welcome in our podcast. My name is Marine. I am the EMU Education Segment Director for Lenovo, and it's my real pleasure and honor to have today Erin.
Hi, Marine. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here with you.
So, can you explain your role and the reason why we are here today?
Well, we're here because I think you wanted to talk about the Digital Transformation Collaborative.
Yes.
So I work at UNESCO. I look after the partnerships in the Global Education Coalition, of which you are part of that. And as part of that work, we created this Digital Transformation Collaborative so we could work together more intensely. I also have a second hat, which is that I represent the Secretariat of the International Task Force on Teachers for Education 2030. So in this digital transformation work, I bring a very strong voice on teachers.
Which you are very passionate about. So can you tell us, can you explain a little bit more what is the DTC about, where it's coming from, and what is the intention?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, collaborating together with partners is not anything new. But a few years ago, we had an experience in a country where many of us were working together. And there were many other partners working, and we would sort of discover new partners in the market or in the country all the time. And what we realized is, gosh, if we could just sit around the same table and work on these issues together and try and solve the problems that the government's trying to solve, rather than sort of working in silos according to our own objectives, we can do things bigger, we can do things faster, and we can certainly do things more efficiently because, of course, we run into the situation very often where we have an overlap of activities. And so part of our work is trying to identify swim lanes and understanding what partners are best at which sort of tasks and achieving which objectives, so that we can, help countries transform their education systems in an efficient, in a productive way. Digital transformation is very complex. It's not something anyone can do. It's not even something a government can do on their own. We have to have partners involved. And so that's why I'm very passionate about the idea of bringing people together to work on that.
And maybe just to explain, DTC is a collaborative of very different stakeholders, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So of course we have the private sector and the multilaterals, but we also have NGOs. We also solicit the advice of actual teachers. We try to bring in the student perspective as well. But above all, everything is according to the vision of the government that we're working with. So we are all there at the table at our service to provide advice, guidance, our perspectives, our experience, bringing best practices maybe that we've had in other projects, other countries, other contexts, and understanding, given the local context of that government, what makes the best sense for them. And I think also, when we're working together in countries, there are a lot of views and a lot of different perspectives. And I think part of this work is also trying to align both to the country's vision, but also align with one voice. So if you have 20 partners as a part of this team in a country, we want to make sure that we're all sort of aligned and working towards the same goals with the same voice. I think that's very important. Otherwise, governments are getting mixed messages and multiple different lines of intervention advice. And I think that's probably a lot to process.
Absolutely. And maybe, just to share also the experience that we have by joining the DTC as private company. When we exchange with other private company, we all share, the experience that for us it's important to contribute into the engagement with the countries, not only because we can, bring our expertise, our experience of, as you said, previous deployment, previous projects, so we can also bring, this experience and expertise, but also give perspective about what will be possible, knowing what we are developing in terms of technologies, so that may, address some of their pain points in the future. And also, I have to say, it's a way to learn by listening. As you said, the country, the government are leading, their strategy. So for us, it's also a way to understand how we can adapt ourselves on the long-term perspective to address their need. So I think, every experience that we had by joining the DTC was very positive and productive. Also for us to digest all those information and being able to adapt ourselves. So that was very positive.
But it's not only that though, like we're actually creating stuff together, right? Like we've built a number of tools. So first of all, trying to get 20, 30 partners to agree on anything is very difficult. But together we've managed to create a framework for digital transformation according to 6 pillars that we think is important. So for example, coordination and leadership. How well is the Ministry of Education, Finance and Communication working together and communicating and sharing information? That's critical to the success of any digital transformation plan. We also have a pillar on capacity and culture. So looking, of course, at the teacher's perspective and how are we supporting teachers? What kind of capacity building do they need? What kind of supports? What training? What professional development do they need? What sort of access to resources are they asking for that can be built and provided to them? Of course, we also have the connectivity C, which is where there you have internet access, electricity access in some cases, devices, Wi-Fi routers, everything you need to access sort of the digital world. And we also have content and digital solutions. So also, in what way are we bringing the national curriculum into the sort of digital contents that learners and teachers and families can leverage in the teaching and learning process, and how rich are those and how contextualized are those, which of course is a good amount of work. And then underpinning all that is the cost and sustainability. How much does this cost, this plan? Digital transformation is extraordinarily expensive, and so we need to be thinking about new ways that we can fund that in a sustainable way. And in the middle of this whole thing, you have data and evidence. A lot of countries are asking for support on AI, but of course they need a strong data layer in order to run AI systems. So this is a snapshot of the framework, but we have other tools too, right? So we do workshops with countries, and the very first workshop we do is an assessment workshop. And to inform that, we have an assessment questionnaire. And that questionnaire kind of helps us and the country understand what do they have, what gaps need to be filled, and it sort of sets the course for the work. In the second phase, we do more of the actual planning, and that depends on where the government is, what they want. So do they already have a plan, a digital plan? Or do they want to create a new digital transformation plan from scratch? We respond accordingly. But that planning phase is where you really see the government's vision coming to life. And then, of course, the third phase is resourcing that. So leveraging the different sort of sources of financing that's available to the country. I don't know if you want to talk about finance, but something I love to talk about.
I was about to ask you to be to give some insight about what you have been developing around the financial mechanism, which I believe is very useful for the government to know and to get as a resource.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's unfair that we expect education experts and education ministries to also be financial experts. So what we're trying to do is create the tools that will help them enable these plans that they're creating. So first and foremost, the financing, I look at it as a 4-piece puzzle. First, you have the domestic budget commitment. So what's already earmarked in the national budget for education, and what's that earmarked for according to this digital transformation plan? What's already covered? Then you understand what is left to cover. In some cases, the second bucket could be some countries have bilateral donor agreements. So in some cases, they can rely on external funding. In development aid, a third category would be in-kind contributions. So, for example, we have private sector around the table from the beginning. So if private sector wants to develop some sort of in-kind offer for a country, which sometimes is possible, sometimes it's not possible, but at least the partner is aware of what that country needs, and it can be taken under consideration. And then the fourth category of that puzzle, the fourth piece, is the one that I'm most passionate about. And that's innovative finance. And so here we're looking at external flows that can be developed that might not already exist in the country. To do that, we're creating a toolkit for innovative finance.
Sounds very good.
Yes. And we have some 26 different financial models that we have created fact sheets for. And for those 26 different models, we have some over 100 different case studies that different countries have used. Some of these models are turnkey that countries can kind of, do overnight. Others are more substantial. They require legislation. But in all cases, we can show you how other countries have deployed this in other contexts. Of course, one context in one country will never be the same as another, but at least it serves as some inspiration for countries that are trying to diversify the income streams that they have.
Can you also share with the audience what has been the benefit so far for some of the countries which has been championing, the expertise from LTC?
Absolutely. So we're relatively new. I think we've been in existence at the country level maybe 12 months. So this is all very new. But so far, we have a number of countries that have participated. I think we've done workshops so far in 3 or 4 countries. So those are countries that are going through this assessment phase and are moving into the planning phase. We also have, I think, 3 or 4 countries in the pipeline for the next 6 months that are asking us for workshops. So we're in the process of scheduling those. And we have the capacity to support more countries as well. So, and we've developed all the tools that we need to support these countries. I think another, what we've learned in these workshops, so what's interesting is these workshops are very iterative. So what we did in the first country, we learned from that and we improved the process for the next, the second country that went through the process. And so we're getting better and better and richer experiences coming out of those workshops. I might also add that we, I wanted to say something about one of the tools that we've developed. I can't remember which one.
But what I was thinking, maybe you were thinking to say is how interesting it was to see that during those workshops that was facilitated by the DTC, to see it was also the occasion for them to sit at the same table, and work together differently in a different context, and that was also fruitful, to see emerge, some solution, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, what's really interesting in these meetings is that you see. So we insist, as I mentioned, that we have the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Communications, and the Ministry of Finance around the table. And the real goal is sort of letting them have a conversation that they might not have had before. In one case, in one country, the Ministry of Education was saying, but we don't have a budget for this, so this would never happen. And the Ministry of Education was saying, oh yeah, you have a huge budget for this. And so it's sometimes it's just facilitating this very simple conversation that actually is absolute magic.
So maybe as a conclusion, is there a message that you would like to address to ministries or government that may listen to us, and also for anyone who would like to join forces with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we have a lot of partners as part of this. This is jointly convened by UNESCO, but also UNICEF, ITU, and the Global Partnership for Education. So we have a lot of capacity to support countries. So we're always looking for countries that want support on their digital transformation processes. So I think that's one thing I would like to share. And a second one is, of course, we're always looking for more partners too. So the more partners we have around the table, the richer the experience, both for us individually as organizations, but also for the government. And of course, at the end of the day, we're in the service of moving the needle on learning outcomes. And of course, that means that we're in the service of helping the government too.
Thank you very much, Erin. Thank you very much to you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Lenovo.